Hi, this is Mandy back with another video. This is actually, as I'm doing these today, this is part 3 of what I didn't expect to be a series, but here it is. This video I'm going to talk about is more about executive functioning and the attention example and where errors come specifically for those diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So this is just one example of how an error in executive functioning under the umbrella of just attention, not even the other 6, might impede a person with autism and then what you might see. Okay, so quick review, because I've done this in the past 2 videos. Hopefully you're just watching these quickly in sequence and remember what I said. But basically, when we're exhibiting joint attention, specifically listening to someone talk, taking the words in, assimilating the information, understanding it, comprehending it, coming up with a formulation to what we're going to say, articulating it at some degree of responsiveness, whatever our choices to, and how and at what level we want to respond to the individual. Okay, so let me look at this now through a lens of someone who's diagnosed with a spectrum disorder, and let me show you what might happen. Okay, so this is the person diagnosed with the autism spectrum disorder, and here's the speaker. So he's the receiver, he's the speaker right now, right? So this person starts to talk about, I don't know, this. So I'm talking about executive functioning. I'm talking about all the different types. This person's mind might start to say, wait a minute, this is too much. I don't know. I'm not paying attention in the first place. I missed it. Where did she start? I don't know. I'm lost. I am getting really anxious because I don't know what to do with information. And she's quiet and says, what do I think? And I say, yeah. Okay. I think so too, or I agree with you. This can go under the radar, believe it or not, for so long with respect to comprehension if a person isn't really skilled, especially those of you at home working with your kids. Teachers have a much better concept of how to work through this, but this can go under the radar for a long time. So what happens in this person's mind, or what can happen, is really they're not completely attending in the first place. They're really not ready, right? You learn these skills in elementary school. Is it time to work? Are you ready to work? We use those kind of phrases. They may not have been ready to listen and receive in the first place. Their mind might have been somewhere else, as we call it. They might be thinking or ruminating about something else. So they miss even the whole first piece of this, let alone the parts down the road that I explained in the example. So we miss a first piece of something. What do we typically do? Oh, I missed it. Let me listen, let me attend now, and let me see if I can piece together or fill in the blanks to make sense of what was already being said. My friends, that is metacognition. That's that piece that I mentioned in the prior videos that has to be pretty solidified, as evidenced by mastery of the other pieces of executive functioning, to be able to jump in and have that type of self-talk. So you can see if there's an error on the person who's diagnosed with a spectrum disorder already, in that I haven't been listening, now let me try to listen, but I don't have the development to piece all of that information together at this time and then figure it out with these advanced executive functioning skills. How might I react? Other than saying, yeah, I know, something just complacent that they maybe have learned to say in a script. What do you think happens? Behavior. How many of you out there now are saying, yes, I know, I try to tell my child to do something and they just don't listen. So they're not, the first problem is they may not be attending, right, and listening ready. And then all of those other types of errors, just, they're sort of embedded. If you miss the first piece and don't have a good assimilation of the other skills, then they're not really interpreting anything very well at that point. So what I want you to take from this video, if anything, parents out there or people that are living with, especially a young child, even older, I'm going to say through the lifespan, who's diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder, know, number one, that when you want your child's attention, it probably isn't best to yell from another room or an adult. To probably go to them or be in front of them if it's something really important. And this is where that good old look at me program came in the early days. We need to teach these kids to make eye contact. This is really why. It's not necessarily because eye contact alone in isolation is so important. Because it helps focus in. It's one more skill to help the person maximize their readiness to listen. So get the person's attention, make sure that you're close, make sure that they are stopped whatever they're doing that you can see environmentally, you can't control what's going on in their head, and get their attention. And then 2, if a behavior happens, don't assume that it's because they didn't want to listen. They might have had an error at processing the information or the directive. Okay? If you need help with what to do with that, find a behavior specialist or an LPC in your area, or hopefully if you have any specific questions, I can try to answer some just general questions. But again, I mean, it's all individual, and there's many, many more things that need to be assessed versus one skill in isolation for a child. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you soon.